Dane is our demonstrator this evening. Um, if you have questions, whatever, you can ask him of Dane. It's normally good if we let the turner rock and roll and then we do some questions. Dane, what you got? What are we doing?
All right. Well, can you all hear me very good?
Yes.
Awesome. So hopefully audio stays up like that. So what we're going to attempt to make tonight is the first half of what I call a jewelry caddy. These are quite handy to have laying around on your countertop, especially for the women in your life or the men that are always cooking and cleaning. It's a nice little catch-all to toss your rings in or to toss them inside the little vessel inside. I figured for a second part of the video, we'll do the top either next week or the following week or whenever it's convenient. But the intent is to turn one of these tonight. It should take about 30 or 45 minutes, depending. And yeah, we'll go from there.
As they say, let's rock and roll.
So I'm working with a piece of cherry. So it's 4-inch by 4-inch by 2 inches. Find my centers. I'll find my centers on both sides. You can find your center and then take a Forstner bit and drill Forstner, hole in there 1 inch, 1 1/8 inch, and mount in a chuck if you so choose. But I prefer doing everything between centers and setting my recesses and or tenons with a small skew. And so with that, I'm going to be mounting it between centers. Got a step center locked into the chuck. And so from there, we'll go from there. If you have flaws on the corners of your wood, it's best to have those as the front, the face of the turning, because those will get turned away because they're sitting up here on top. So I've got some chips and whatnot on this side, so I'm going to mount that towards the headstock. Headstock side is going to be the top of the little turning. So we'll crank that down, lock everything in place, make everything's right and tight. Give myself some room for my yoke. Put the safety device on. And then we'll spin her up. Can you all hear me fine?
Gotcha, bud. Go ahead.
All right, sounds good. When turning, always turn at the speed that you're comfortable with. I turn fast. I'm comfortable with it. Cherry reacts really well with high-speed steel. So first thing we're going to do is basically knock the corners off. We're going to work our curve back. Sometimes you have to retighten. Last week we were talking about ways to mark your tenon. You can have little guides that you make and have readily available at your discretion when you're cutting one. But if you just take a pencil and lay it on top of your live center. Now you've got automatic mark for your 2-inch cups. All right, so I got my tenon cut. I'm going to take a negative rake and clean off the bottom here, and we're basically done with the bottom profile.
That's a clean cut.
Yeah, not bad, aside from the little chip here, but that's okay. All right, from here, we'll turn it around. Slap it in the chuck. And so my tenon that I have cut here is probably 3/16 of an inch. 3/16 of an inch. You don't need a big monster tenon hanging out to be able to lock it into your chuck. The primary portion that is where you're getting your holding power, the torque resistance is from having a nice flat concentric wall that's going to sit flush against your chuck jaws. That's where your holding force is coming from, not necessarily from the tenon. Again, you don't have to torque down on it. The more you torque down on it, the more you're going to crush those wood fibers, and you're going to cause that tenon to crack. And just to even up the top pair, we use live center support, not a whole lot, just enough there to keep it from ricocheting off should it want to pop off.
Dane, for those that didn't notice it right now, look at the top of the chuck. You see the gap in the jaws, which means he's getting almost a concentric grab with those jaws on that tenon. That's why the size of the tenon is so critical.
Exactly. And as a matter of fact, that gap is just a little bit smaller than the tenon depth was. So I said 3/16 of an inch. That gap is probably about 1/8. So it's making as much contact as almost possible on those round jaws. So what I did there is I set the top vessel size with that cut there. Now from there, I'm going to come in from the sides, going in, working in this way, and then working out this way, all at the same time going down to reduce this thickness. And so I'm starting with my tool handle down as I'm entering the cut and then raising it. That's the cutting motion. I'm gonna switch to a smaller gouge. I can squeeze in there. And that chippiness you was hearing earlier, there's a knot in there. And of course, it's got a void in it on the other side.
Called character. Called character. We can work with it.
And so one other thing I will do when I'm turning square pieces like that is I take a piece of chalk and I was cleaning, blew my piece away, but I'll mark where those wings are coming by so I know where to keep my hands away from, even though they are on this side of the tool rest.
Yeah, you only have to learn how to take that seriously once.
Do what?
You only have to learn how to take those edges seriously once.
Right?
But we can make them a member of Brenda's group, you know.
And so as I'm approaching the cut right about here, as my flutes are facing probably about 11 o'clock and I'm rotating with my body. The handle is, I've got it pinned to the side of my chest here. And as I'm rotating around, while I'm rotating around, I'm spinning that and I'm closing it by the time I get to the bottom of that cut. When you do that, that prevents you from having little jagged ends or jagged cut marks left that you have to take out later. And it's providing the automatic transition from the cylinder into the disc roll. Yeah, that void is catchy. Take a lighter cut. Now we'll excavate the inside out and then we'll almost be done. Any questions thus far?
Speak now, hold your peace.
No questions? All right. I'm going to cut my rim for my lid that will fit in. Now it's just like cutting a bowl. Yes, that void runs all the way through. Inside is shaped. Now I'm going to fine tune the outside. There we are. Aside from a little bit of sanding, some finishing, put a lid on it, take the bottom off. We're there.
Put you on the spot. How about next week for the lid?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Great. I think the project's really nice.
Looks pretty nice. Got it done in good time.
And you
Yeah.
call that a jewelry caddy, is that right?
Do what?
You call that a jewelry caddy, is that right?
Yeah, a jewelry caddy. That's what it got coined by some purchasers years ago.
How would you go about taking the bottom off of it?
Do what?
How would you go about taking the bottom off?
I would just slam that onto a chuck, jam chuck. First, you got to line it up with, so with all my jam chucks, you know how when you turn something, you take it back off, you put it back on. If you don't have your marking to tell you which orientation it was turned at, you'll have that little bit of wobble and you have to return it to make it true. So if you always mark the jaw number one, or, you know, one particular jaw number, and then line it up with that jaw, you'll always have a true running jam chuck. Every time you take it on, take it off. There it goes, perfect. So all I would do is put that on here, and you'll notice got the little recess there. It's set up for that. And then I'd bring my live center up.
You can also bolt a waste block to one of your face plates and use that as a jam chuck, and it's always round.
Sure, sure. And then, so from there, you know, you get in there with your gouge or your spindle gouge and finish up the bottom, do any additional detailing that you want to do to it. But that's how I take the bottoms off on everything. I've got a 20-inch disc, got various smaller ones, but that's how I take it off on all of them.
Any other questions, folks?
Very good.
Well,
Nice.
thank you.
Nice job.
Simple
Very
little
nice.
project.
Good job, Dane.
Thank you, thank you.
Good demo, Dane.
Thank you.
Yes, that was good.